So the Guyanese Critic is coming to you from just outside GCOM's returning officer office, and Captain Jerry Gavaya, chairman of the Private Sector Commission, is going to give us his take and his experience of what transpired here.
Well, first of all, I want to say that we are accredited observers, and we have been across this country, and the electoral system were amazing. It was professional, it was fair and free, it was smooth, the GCOM staff was professional, and we were very, very optimistic of where this was going until this started to happen today. Now,
what is this? What do you mean this?
Well, after the poll is closed and the poll is counted, then the statements of poll come to the returning officer of every region. And so Georgetown have 800 statements of poll as approximate. 800 statements of poll come to this office, to this returning officer. And then he's supposed to sit down around a table with all the party agents, right? And then he's supposed to read every SOP with the number. And they're supposed to open their SOPs and check the number, and so long as it corresponds, they put it into the spreadsheet, into the regional tabulation. And it was going fine. And then the first thing happened is that obviously, unfortunately, the returning officer got sick, right? And of course, and before that, they had a lot of delays. A lot of delays was happening. And then something strange happened today. When this happened today, they stopped using the statements of poll. They went and prepared a spreadsheet in a back room, brought the spreadsheet out, and a clerk started to read numbers from the spreadsheet. And everybody in the room was saying, where you get those numbers? These numbers are not in the SOP. And she would not stop. And every time they tried to stop her, she was continuing doing it. And she was populating the regional tabulation with numbers that didn't match the SOPs. And so it was unfortunate for the democracy. And so the chairperson intervened, and now they're having an emergency meeting with everybody to make a determination of what they will do forward.
Do you know, has the election officer already, I was heard from opposition leader Bar Jagyo that Mr. Lowenfield did some samples and found that this had occurred. Can you confirm?
I don't know that fact. I was actually at the Carrigan press conference when I came back here. But what I do know is that I was in the room when she was calling numbers, and the party agents were objecting to the numbers. They were saying, those numbers are not in our SOP, and she wasn't stopping. She was just continuing rolling ahead with it. So now they're more than likely they'll have to start it over. They will have to start and do it. The law says they must use the statement of poll. The law says they must use the statement of poll and correspond it with every party statement of poll. And they were not doing that. And so this was going to completely destroy what was otherwise a very beautiful elections. And it was going to create a situation where we would not have a legally democratic government if it continued.
Do you think that this was accidental? It's just a mistake? She did not understand what she was doing, or this is deliberate?
You know, I don't want to speculate, but I know that Lowenfield knows better. And Lowenfield was here, and he should have stopped it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gavaya. So you heard from Captain Jerry Gavaya on what transpired and what would have caused this, what is now being considered a misunderstanding. I'm hoping the Chief Election Officer, Mr. Lowenfield, could come and explain. So I'm going to try to get an opinion from.
You want me to review now? That's good to see.
So for those of you who've just tuned into Daybreak News with the Guyanese Critic, I'm coming to you from just outside the Guyana Elections Commission Office of the Returning Officer, and there's a bit of a confusion here since the tabulation process for Region 4 seems to has deferred from what is normally the legal process and has been stopped, and opposition leader Barry Jagyo, presidential candidate for the Liberty and Justice Party Lennox Schumann, presidential candidate for the New Movement Dr. Asha Kisoon, they've all objected to this process and all are inside this office trying to get it rectified. Let me get an opinion from lawyer Sanjeev Dattadin.
That's what's required. Anything less is unacceptable. That's how an election is interfered with. And this is what all the controversy is about. It really is a very simple issue. It can't be done if you are going to have someone read from a sheet of paper. No one will accept who prepared the sheet of paper. GCOM says this is their sheet, which has all the things for the statement of polls. But why don't they produce a statement of poll? The statement of poll is the only thing that can be used in this verification process. And this is not a count. This is a tabulation of all the statement of polls. All the political parties here have copies of the statement of poll from each of the 2,000 plus polling stations. So that is why we have been saying since yesterday that everybody, we know what the result is to be, and they know what it is to be. So when they are saying things that are entirely inconsistent with what a simple tabulation of the statement of polls would produce, then there's cause for worry. And this was going on. They went through like 20, 25, and the numbers don't match. And we said, you have to stop it. You can't continue. Lowenfield came and gave an explanation and then left. But he wouldn't come back down and explain where this sheet came from. And oddly enough, apparently APNU has the sheet because they're saying that's the number they have and they're reading from a sheet too. So how did they get a sheet that has the printout? We don't know how any of these things came about. What has to happen for Region 4 is the vote of the people must count. Whatever the people wish is what must go forward. And those statement of polls are signed by the presiding officer, the DRO, signed by the polling agent for all the political parties who are present. They are witness the count and they sign on it. So there could be no dispute as to what it is. It represents the will of the people.
So GCOM know who made that spreadsheet?
Well, they haven't said who's made the spreadsheet. They simply came out with a sheet of paper and said this is what they're going to follow. They haven't indicated to us. We have asked, where did you get it from? And we got no answer so far. We don't know who made this thing.
So how long they will take to correct this spreadsheet or whatever?
This is not a lengthy process. This is how it works. I take the statement of poll. I say in region number this, polling station number 41331, these are the votes. ANUG, APNU, and you say what numbers you have. The polling agents, the counting agents who are sitting down there for the respective parties and the observers, the agents will say, we have that number, we have that number, yes, 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 it's agreed, it's entered. So that we the tabulation, because they have a tabulation going on. You pick up the next sheet, statement of poll. You say region number 4, polling station number 41, whatever, and you read it through. This is not rocket science. It ought not to take this long.
Right. With the spreadsheet, you're saying that there could be a way of rigging the elections?
I'm not saying the spreadsheet is a way of rigging the election. I said the spreadsheet being used was in the process of rigging the elections. That's what was happening in there, because they keep attributing on the spreadsheet that they're reading from. There are more votes that are entered on that sheet that they have for APNU. than the statement of polls have, and we've asked them to produce their statement of polls so that they could see for the verification. They say they don't need to do that. So it was only when everyone came here and everyone raised it, the international observers have pointed it out, the diplomatic corps is here, now it has stopped. With this stop, it now has to be, you have to go back and do the process. You can't just simply continue.
No, just to get this clear, you're suggesting that this was not accidental, there was a deliberate attempt to rig the election process.
Well,
presently.
I think that where did the sheet come from? If we get that answer, then we can answer whether they were rigging the election. But they were in the process of counting votes that do not exist on the statement of polls, that are signed by the APNU representatives, signed by the PPP representatives, the polling officer, and the deputy returning officer. Those signatures are should be on that document.
What, in light of this occurring and you being made aware of it, everybody's aware of it now, there is a need for a recount?
Well, it's not a recount. What will happen is all that were done from a spreadsheet now have to be done over from a statement of poll. Yes, so the ones that all of yesterday, all of last evening until they stopped at 9 o'clock were all done from statement of poll.
What guarantees are in place that this would not happen again?
Well, the observers are here. They're not going to leave. The counting agents for the various political parties are here. They are not going to leave either. And the people that are in that room are going to be vigilant to make sure that doesn't happen again.
And the gentleman who was sick early, is he back on the job?
I understand. No, I don't think he is back here, but I understand he's no longer in hospital and he is okay. I hope he is all right.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
So you would have heard it from Sanjeev Dardin, who happens to be a candidate for the PPP, and giving us an explanation as to what they think transpired, or their opinion as to what transpired today and has caused this bit of a standoff in the electoral process. Former President Danny Ramatar.
You know how many?
So for those of you who just tuned in, the Guyanese Critic is coming to you from the Guyana Elections Commission designated office of the returning officer, and Region 4 votes were being tabulated when some inconsistencies were recognized. GCOM staff deferred from the normal process of counting statement of polls, and that was objected to by a number of observers, presidential candidates for small party, new parties, and that process has been stopped. And
They're trying to be as transparent as possible. All the SOPs. For Region 4, the issue is with
Yes, but I want to know what they're counting, all the SOPs or a specific number of.
They're continuing from where they stopped off.
Do you know where they stopped off?
411.
And do you know how many more they have after that?
300 plus, according to what was said.
What indication how long that can take the process?
They will be here all night.
Right. But how long that can take the process?
They
All
did
night
not
is-
say the exact words were available and that they're trying to do it. The issue is that using the spreadsheet wasn't equal with the SOPs and the numbers on it. Numbers were appearing plus 100 in favor of the current coalition, which was giving them more votes than actual voters. So that's why the process was held up until now, and the decision was made to go back to the SOPs.
How was that spreadsheet generated?
I'm told that it came from GCOM, but I'm not blaming them for anything because I'm not at liberty to say that they did anything.
So how does one know that the process early in the day was indeed and in fact accurate?
Because when they compare it with the numbers on the SOP, they weren't.
Mr. Jagia, what they told you?
So the CU just came back and they had a full meeting at the level of the commission, and they agreed to go back to the process they were using, where they go using all the statements of vote, and that they will put up a screen now to see that the information from the statement of poll is properly reflected or inputted, and then when they finish sub-districts like Georgetown, they will print it out, give all with a total, and give it to all the political parties for reconciliation, so they would know if there is any difference in the parties' numbers.
So you're saying
They're starting to work now, so Mr. Lowenfield said they'll work throughout the night until they complete the process.
so the generated list has been removed from the process?
Yeah, yes, that list has been moved, and that nobody knows where it came from. And so it's been removed by the commissioners.
Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied with everything so far?
Yes, I'm satisfied with the steps that they have taken now, Mr. Lowenfield and others.
But the work done previously has been.
No, Mr. Mingo, we haven't seen him there.
So who do you?
No, well, they have a person acting for him. Yeah, correct. I don't know. I'm exiting here now because that issue has been resolved, and so let the process continue. And I'm sure that people will.
The work done previously has been completed.
Because the work done before, the 300 odd statements of poll in Georgetown, went through the process one by one, statements of poll with everyone organized.
As prescribed by the law.
As prescribed by the law. So that went well. All right then. Okay, take care.
It's just, you don't want to knock me down. You can miss the interview there. You miss the interview.
Say something. You said something.
You want to miss the commission. You can allow the people to make commission.
You can meet in the media.
All of the commissions agreed to, and that's what they're now going to do.
And this agreement has to do with recounting statements of vote.
It's to do with counting statements of polls. Yeah.
Did you feel that there was something wrong with the spreadsheet in the first place? You have observed this.
I didn't see this. I didn't see the spreadsheet. We didn't see the spreadsheet. The important thing now is we now have a way forward that everybody is happy with.
The situation's been resolved, and they're starting the retabulation right now.
All the timeline, everything hangs on the timeline. Has this been impressed on the commission?
Well, I think everybody knows that everybody wants a decision as quickly and as soon as possible. But the important thing, as I said yesterday, was they need to have accurate and credible results. And And so going to the SOPs and doing that is the way forward.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So the British High Commissioner and the American Ambassador giving a short update on their experience. All right. What? So they seem to be satisfied with the new arrangement and accepted that there was some inconsistency.
Okay, all right.
So for those of you who tuned in, Guyanese Critic is coming to you from outside of the
to the right way, and let's hope that it is the case. And we will be, of course, ready to come and observe it.
Did the European Union suggest that what is happening now should have happened? Were you a part of recommending returning to this format?
Well, no, not really. What we wanted to see is a solution that satisfied everybody, that nobody felt that this was going to be a process which was not transparent. We wanted a transparent process. That's what we think that also most people wanted. And now they seem to have come to an agreement by which they are going to focus on the statement of the polls, which are the documents where the votes are reflected.
Do you, in your capacity, have any access to a preliminary statement of poll tabulation?
The European Union has an observation mission, as you probably know. They have been in many polls, and yes, they have seen the statements, not in every poll, of course, not in every voting place.
So you don't have a
final
tally?
We have a sample, but it is a very good sample. And from this sample, of course, we know the results as they were announced. But what is really important is that those statements of polls were public. So in principle, all the party agents, no matter what party, have them. And they can always compare what is announced with the polls. So what is really essential is that what is announced corresponds to the statement of polls. And we hope that after this long discussion, they have agreed to a system that will make that happen.
Okay, Jim, can you state your name and your position?
I am Fernando Pons Canto, the Ambassador of the European Union in Guyana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
So Ambassador of the European Union of Guyana has just spoken to the fact that two things, the process is back on, and the fact that the European Union observers have a sample that affords them the opportunity of knowing what the polls are, and they're just waiting basically for GCOM to make their count, and everybody will agree, well, they all have the same tabulation. So for those of you who just tuned in, the Guyanese Critic is coming to you from just outside the GCOM's Guyana Election Commission office of the returning officer, and there was a bit of a confusion here when it resulted in the stalling or stopping of the tabulation of Region 4's votes.
That we're party that didn't contest general election, and this is Region 4 I'm talking about only, right? Like this party, for instance, OVP, did not contest in the general election, right? But they still have 255 votes, right? This next one here, FUP, did not contest the general election, and they still have 3 votes, you know? So this is only region 4, you know. We have other things coming up on Region 1, where party gets 700 and something votes, and they didn't contest in the area. So I don't know what's going on here.
So we don't see a result for the near future?
Huh?
We don't see a result coming out very soon?
Well, I don't see how the result will come out if we didn't get these things straightened out. You know?
How long do you think they're going to straighten this out?
From from your internal tabulation of the votes, do you see yourself gaining a seat?
I don't know. How things are going, I don't know.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Everything hasn't come in. So
All
we
right.
can't say that. It will be too early.
Okay. Thank you. Glad to see you in.
Okay, man.
I think that was good. I think it's good, yes.
Any input on what transpired here, Mr. Jonas? Any input?
What's going on, my friend?
You tell me.
Well,
I now come.
I'm sure you've heard the whole story, that the decision was taken by our friend Owenfield in his discretion not to use the statements of poll, but to use the data sheets instead, a summary that was done. The summary, when they started counting, they realized that although the PPP figures were correct, the APNU figures were not. They had been inflated by slightly more than 100 for each poll. By the time they had done the first 21, 17 had been similarly inflated. So there was a problem because mathematically speaking, by the time they finished, they would have represented 5,000 new votes for APNU which had never been cast. So that is what caused the brouhaha. And right now, fortunately, the international community has caused enough embarrassment that they have retracted that position and are now reverting to the statements of poll. My problem is that, as you see, I'm standing up outside as the chairman of a party, not being allowed in. I'm seeing APNU folk and PPP folk going in and out freely. And that in itself, for me, contributes to the secrecy and the harm that leads to corruption. What has aggravated this whole thing is that both sides have told their supporters that they won. So you have a group of angry supporters out there who firmly believe, fervently believe, emotionally believe what their leader told them that they won. They haven't won. And because they've been misled, they, in good conscience, are now telling themselves that something is going on here to change what their leader with honesty and integrity told them, which was a lie. They have not won. And this is a dangerous situation that can escalate. And the dangerous situation is being exacerbated in there because of the secrecy in which they're operating. We have a potential disaster going on here because of dishonesty in our leadership. Guyana gets what it deserves. We voted ethnically once again, and here we are once again with the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas. So you would have heard a number of individuals, the diplomatic community, observers, the ambassador to America, the High Commissioner, to the British High Commissioner, the European Union Ambassador, President of, Chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Captain Jerry Gavaya, all have been coming in with the same issue. The Guyanese Critical will be bringing updates to you as I get them.